This conference will now be recorded.
My name is Musab Sayed, and I'll be your trainer for this Linux administration course for which you are trying to attend a demo class today. Speaking about myself, guys, before that, I expect that everyone is audible. I hope everyone is audible, guys. Everyone is able to listen to me, right? I hope everyone is audible. I'm audible to everyone, right? So if not, then please let me know, right? Anyway, so let's start our session. A request is there, guys, that during the session, you can keep your mics muted. If you have any questions, you can put that meanwhile in the chat window. And once the session is at the end, I'll give you a chance to speak, ask your questions or doubts. But during the session, I would request you to keep your mics muted. And if you have a questions anytime during the session, you can put your questions in the chat window. By the end, we'll have a discussion where you can speak also if you want to speak. So as I was telling you guys that my name is Musab Sayed, and I would be your trainer for Linux environment throughout this curriculum, throughout this course. Speaking about myself, I have an experience of around 10 years in IT industry, where I have also started my career as Linux and IBM AIX administrator. Initially, I used to work on IBM AIX, a Unix from IBM. Slowly, over a period of time, I developed my skills into Linux clusters, virtualization, AIX cluster, virtualization, a little bit of VMware, a little bit of SAN, a little bit of cloud. Like that, my story went on. Right? I used to work for different organization. I was very fortunate to work with different teams, different projects, uh, internationally. I've traveled different places to work on a project. So this is my 10 years of IT experience, what I've been involved into. And also, I'm a very much passionate trainer. Past 10 years, I continuously delivers the trainings, right? I have delivered training in IBM platform, AIX, and all other technologies. Linux is my biggest passion, my forte, so I have delivered many more training in Linux than any other topics or any other curriculum, right? I have trained more than 10,000 plus students in corporate style, online, offline, all flavors of trainings I have delivered, right? So this is a small introduction and a brief information about me so that you can be satisfied that you are in the right hands, right? Now let's try to talk about what you are exactly interested to listen about Linux. Guys, if I ask you a question that what exactly Linux is, I'll get the answer that Linux is nothing but an operating system. In fact, it is a free open source operating system. That is absolutely fine. But if I ask you what exactly is an operating system, so you would tell me that OS is nothing but an interface between users and the hardware. See, the system hardware, the computer, cannot understand our language like English or Spanish or any other language we speak. The system or the system hardware works on system language, which is binaries. So we cannot understand the binary language and system cannot understand our language. So we need one translator, one mediator, one interface which can convert my language to system and system to my. And that interface is nothing but an operating system. See, this definition we've been learning since years, isn't it? Since our school days, we are learning about the operating system is an interface between user and hardware. But today, what I'm going to show you is a different way of explaining the same thing, right? If you see how an operating system is built, although guys, I'm trying to show you development side, but we have nothing to do with programming or development. Linux is very simple and easy to work with concept. But to understand this concept, it is really important that we should know how operating system is built. See, as a developer or a programmer, if you are trying to make an operating system, the first thing what you have to write is something called source code. Source code is the base program in which the entire operating system is developed and built. It is the base of entire operating system. So first thing you have to do is the coding part in the programming part, which is source code. Now, once your source code is ready, you need to attach some useful applications with that. Suppose you have written the source code in a programming language. Let's say I have written it in C program. Now, don't you think, guys, that C program requires some compilers, some libraries to attach with this particular source code to make it run efficiently? So those libraries and those compilers are attached in the form of application. And when these two are combined, it gives you the most important part of any operating system. We call it as kernel. Guys, kernel is the heart of the operating system. Everything in the system is managed and performed by kernel only. Anything you say, all type of management is handled by kernel. It's the boss of the operating system. File management, CPU management, memory management, disk management, or swap management, any other type of management you say, it is done by kernel. In fact, I can tell you that everything you do in the system is performed by kernel. We give instructions to kernel, and kernel will do that activity for you in the system. Creating file, deleting file, copying file, moving file, formatting, whatever you do, you're just giving instructions to kernel, and this guy is doing all the activity in your operating system. It's the whole and soul, the heart of the operating system. Until unless kernel is alive, OS is alive. The moment kernel fails, OS also crashes, right? So kernel is the most important component of the operating system. Now with kernel, we will attach some useful software. For example, listening music, I'll go with a music player. To browse internet, I'll go with web browsers. To view some videos, I'll go with video player like Paintbrush to paint and create something, Word, PowerPoint, Excel. These are what? Nothing but software. So we combine kernel with various useful software, and finally you'll get your operating system. So technically or development side, if you see, operating system is nothing but a combination of kernel and various softwares. Kernel is nothing but a combination of source code and application. Now, guys, you might be wondering that why we are discussing that development. Do we need to do developing? Do we need to learn programming language? No, absolutely not. We don't have to learn any programming or coding or any such thing. I'm just explaining you this thing to know the anatomy that how operating system is built, to understand the OS better. That's it. Now, I promise you that after this, we are not going to discuss any coding part in our curriculum at all because it is not needed. Now, to understand Linux better, we have understood operating system and we understood that how operating system is built. Now, using this formula, many operating systems were created. But the first complete operating system of the world that was developed is Unix. And Unix was developed by two great names in computing history. Initially, the project of Unix operating system was given to Ken Thompson. You can see this guy on left. Ken is father of Pascal language. He introduced Pascal language or B language. Initially, he started to write the source code in Pascal language, which did not work perfectly. So what he did, he combined his job with another great name in computing history, Dennis Ritchie. See, I know most of us know about Dennis very well. See, Dennis is the one who is the father of C language. He has introduced the C language to the world. So what Ken and Dennis decided together that let's write the source code in C language and let us see will it work or not. So they came to a decision that let's write the source code in C language. They written it in C language and it was super successful. So once the source code was ready, they added some applications, created kernel, etc., and they came up with first ever complete operating system of the world, calling it Unix. So Unix was developed in AT&T Bell Lab, USA in the year 1969. Now, once Unix was developed, they did not made it commercial. Initially, they distributed it to schools and universities so that people can see that how Unix work. But slowly and steadily, it started to catch the eye of industry giants. So many industry people, computing industry people, they wanted to purchase Unix. They approached AT&T and T and they told that, sell us your Unix operating system. What AT&T has done, AT&T has never sold the entire operating system to anyone. Instead of making the full operating system and selling it, they started to sell source code. That means if you have a good team of developers and programmers, you can purchase the source code, modify the source code, and come up with your own flavor of Unix. Guys, consider Unix as an ice cream. Now, how ice cream has many flavors, right? When you go to an ice cream shop, they show you a variety of ice cream with different flavors. Same way, Unix is one, but it has number of flavors, right? Many people purchased it, they modified it, and they came up with their own flavor. And each flavor will have number of versions. Year to year, new version was released and came into the market. Now, there are too many flavors to discuss about, but I'm going to keep it short with very important four flavors that rule the market, right? So first to come was HP. HP introduced their Unix with a name called HPUX in the year 1984. Now, same year, 1984 only, Apple also came with its flavor, calling it Mac OS, what you get in your Apple's MacBook now, right? Then the leading and the topmost Unix was introduced by IBM, calling it AIX, Advanced Interactive Executive. Now, this happened in the year 1986. Then one more very popular Unix in the world was released by Sun Microsystem, calling it Solaris. This happened in the year 1992. In 90s, Sun Solaris was boom, especially in Gulf areas, right? But unfortunately, Solaris has seen a downfall, so it's sold. Total Sun organization has been sold to Oracle, so it is now called as Oracle Solaris. No more, it is called as Sun Solaris. Now, if you see all of these names, whatever I have mentioned, HP, UX, Mac OS, AIX, or Solaris, these are all flavors of Unix. Now each flavor will have number of versions. Year to year, new versions have been released and people are using it, right? If you see all of them, they are Unix. That is their first feature. Second, they are not free of cost. They are closed source. They are licensed thing. If you want, you have to purchase them. Now, one more big requirement to work with all these Unixes are all these Unixes, whatever we have talked, these are all hardware dependent. Now, what do you mean by hardware dependent? See, if you want to go with HPUX, it runs only on a special HP hardware. I'm sure you're aware of Mac. See, Mac OS only works on special Apple hardware. If I give you Mac OS, you will not be able to install it on Dell, Samsung, or any other platform. It needs special Apple's hardware to work with. Same way, AIX work with only IBM's power hardware. It cannot be installed on any other hardware apart from IBM's. Same way, Solaris works perfectly on Sun or Oracle Spark machines. Now, guys, this combination of software and hardware make it very expensive and highly unaffordable for an individual or a small player, right? Big organizations, there's no problem. They can purchase it and they can work with. But people like you and me or a small organization who wants to work with that, it makes it little expensive. See, I don't know about HPUX or macOS or Solaris. But as I told you at the beginning that past 10 years I've been worked on IBM AIX very closely. I started my career with IBM AIX. See, I can tell you one thing that in today's time, if you want to purchase IBM AIX, entry level setup. See, entry level is very basic setup, which is not at all used in production environment. Entry level is only used for testing purposes or something like that. So if you want to go for entry level, it would cost you easily 10 to 15,000 US dollar, right? Which in Indian currency it would be in at least 15, 16 lakhs or more than that. So the overall cost is too high that an individual or a small player who wants to use it cannot afford it. Especially we are learners. Now for learning purpose, do you think I can afford such an expensive setup? No, absolutely not. So the cost involved is so high and it is unaffordable for small players. Now, this was not a problem this time. This was also a problem at the initial days of Unix. People was very enthusiastic, very interested to learn and work with these Unixes. But the cost was so high that they were not able to afford it. So people were really frustrated that why we are not able to work with that, why we are not able to learn Unix because of the cost involved inside it. Now, this is the reason, guys, this is the reason behind why Linux came into the picture. As the cost was so high, it was unaffordable. People wanted to learn and they were not able to learn because of the cost was so high and they were not able to work with that. To beat this particular concept, there was an organization which is still there, guys, right? The organization name is Free Software Foundation. Now you see, guys, the name itself is telling you Free Software Foundation used to produce free software that you can use on any Unix or any Linux, like open source, like you have Mozilla Firefox, free of cost, Google Chrome, free of cost, VLC Media Player, free of cost, right? So these are nothing but open source free software. One of them like that was Free Software Foundation, which used to produce free software that can be used on any Unix of your choice. Now, these foundation decided that how long we are only going to work with software. Let us make an operating system, and not just any operating system, guys, that this operating system should be an exact copy of Unix. It should be an exact replica of Unix. So they started one movement calling it GNU movement. GNU stands for generally not Unix. Idea was very clear, guys. The idea was to make an exact copy of Unix, but it shouldn't be called as Unix. Obviously, because Unix is a proprietary or licensed thing from Unix. If I say I have a Unix with my name, Musab Unix, then AT&T will sue me. They'll put me a case on me, right? So they don't want to call it Unix, something else, but it should be same like Unix, same workability, same command line, everything should be same. Now, this project or this movement started very effectively, but not big names like Dennis or Ken or any other great programmers. They did not join this project because they was already working for AT&T. Now they cannot go against it. So what they did, they supported it, saying that it's a good move, people should try. Many people tried to work on that, especially the young programmers, the new graduates from university or colleges. They were very, very enthusiastic to work on this concept. So they started to work, they spent the time, many tried to make it, but nobody was able to make exact replica except one guy. See, there was a student in Helsinki University in Finland, right? Helsinki University is Finland, and there was a student in Helsinki University. His name is Linus Torvalds. What Linus did in his summer vacation, he did not go back to his home. He stayed in university and he started to work as a hobby to program or do coding, and he started to work on this project, and he was successfully able to create a source code, right? He has written the source code, and when you have a source code with you, right, or actually he created a kernel, guys, not only source code, but he written the source code, added with application, and built a kernel, complete kernel he built. Now, when you have kernel with you, what else you need to make an operating system? We saw the anatomy. Kernel, when it is added with number of software, it gives your operating system. So Linus prepared a kernel. Free Software Foundation was already having full of softwares. So they added some beautiful, useful software with this Linux kernel, and they came up with first ever free, completely free Unix in the market, calling it Linux. Now, I don't have to tell you that why they call it Linux. Obviously, on the name of the guy who developed it. But Linux has a full form. What's the full form? Linux stands for Linus's Unix. See, directly they cannot call it Unix because Unix is the property of AT&T. So instead of calling it Unix, they started to call it Linus's Unix, which eventually become Linux. So here is Linus Torvald holding a mascot for Linux, the small penguin Tux, right? So since then, now this happened in the year 1991. And Linus released this Linux as a free operating system, free concept. That means you don't have to purchase any license. And moreover, the most important thing of Linux after being free is it is hardware independent. See, it is open source, it is free, it carries GPL, General Public License. That means you can use it, your friends can use it, Anybody can modify it if they want to modify. There wouldn't be any question. And most importantly, it is hardware independent. That means you can install it and work with on any hardware of your choice. Now, your machine can be IBM's machine, it can be HP's machine, or Dell machine, or Samsung machine, or even you can work on your assembled hardware also. There's no problem. So, this brought free Unix into the market. Now, people were really happy about this move. They wanted something that can give a big challenge to Unix. They can work with same kind of operating system without any cost, and that dream came true. So Linux came as a substitute to Unix. It has same features like Unix, 100% same. Same workability, same security, same command line, almost everything is same. And the beauty is it is free of cost and it is hardware independent. Wherever you want, you can install it on a physical machine, you can install it on a virtual machine, or any vendor product you can, or any vendor hardware you can use it. There is no restriction for a special hardware over here. Now guys, when you get same features like Unix, same workability, same command line, what would you expect from people to do? Guys, people welcome Linux with open arms. Not only they welcome, but programmers used to download the source code from internet and new flavors of Linux started to come into the market. Previously, we used to have only the flavor of Unix, but now flavors of Linux was introduced in the market. Every Tom, Dick, and Harry used to produce their Linux and released it. Like every Friday or Saturday, there's a new movie out. Same way, every Friday, Saturday, there used to be a new Linux out into the market. People used to come with their flavor of Linux, like Ade Linux or John Linux, Herschel Linux, Musab Linux, Wenke Linux. Like that, people used to come with their flavor. Guys, from 1991 till 1995, we used to have almost 400 plus flavors of Linux. That's a record. Operating system that has high number of flavors is Linux in the market right now. So we used to have more than 400 flavors of the Linux out into the market. But the problem was it was not used completely on production environment. People used to enjoy it for their personal usage on laptop, desktop, for personal purposes. But people does not used to use full-fledged on production environment. You know why? Because people were releasing Linux. Every week there used to be hundreds of Linux released into the market. But there was no proper background support to their product. For example, you are working with AIX. IBM is there to give you support if you have any problem. You work with Windows. Microsoft is there to help you if there is any problem. You work with Mac. If there is any issue, Apple is there to give you support. But suppose we released our Linuxes, Venki Linux, Musab Linux, but we are not there behind our operating system to give support. So who will use such product on the production environments? Yes or no? If it fails, if it has any issue, who to contact with, right? So people used to fear that slowly and steadily Linux will also become commercial. That means if you want to purchase, if you want to work with Linux, you have to purchase Linux. But thankfully, two organizations came with a brilliant idea that has kept Linux completely free in the market till date, right? First to come was Novell, and their product is SUSE Linux. Then another product from USA, Red Hat, came in the year 1995, and their product is Red Hat Linux, Red Hat Enterprise Linux, and Fedora. Red Hat Linux is used for laptop desktops. Red Hat Enterprise Linux is used on servers, production environment, and Fedora is a project. Fedora is not at all an individual operating system. See, whenever these Red Hat people they wanted to release new features, they will do their testing and release in the form of Fedora. Now, developers and users like you and me will use and give their review. Now, if the reviews are good, they'll add that feature in Red Hat. Otherwise, they will discard it. So mostly Red Hat and Red Hat Enterprise Linux version are used in the market. Now, these two companies, Novell and Red Hat, came with an idea that you want the operating system, take it. Take it for free. We are not going to charge you a single penny for the operating system. But if you need support, if you need regular updates, if you need bug fixing or issue resolving, then you need to purchase a subscription. Now, the subscription is not for the software what they are sharing with you. The subscription is the support or updates that they are going to give you, right? So if you don't want that support, you can use this operating system free of cost for years, right? The beauty of Linux is, guys, that you will not find a trial version in Linux. Whichever Linux it might be, when you download and install, it will be a full version. Few will come with support free of cost, and few will come without any support, right? Support in the sense, guys, support means if you have any problem, they will try to help you. They'll try to fix that issue with you, right? Or regular updates will be sent to you. Automatically, the system will be updated to the new version and these that would be going on. Now, if you can do that manually, you don't want any support, so you can use it free of cost. But the organizations, the big companies where they work, they don't want to take that chances, so they'll purchase subscription. And people like you and me who did not want any subscription, we are learning or we want to use it personally, we can use it free of cost. Now, there are few Linuxes that gives you free support, also free updates. One of them is CentOS. CentOS stands for Community Enterprise Operating System. CentOS was released by Red Hat only as the exact copy of Red Hat that gives you free updates as well time to time. But the problem with CentOS is it won't give you guaranteed backend support, but updates would be available. If you want to go with a proper support, then you have only one choice to go with is Red Hat or Novell SUSE that also give you perfect support. Now Red Hat is quite popular in market. More than 60% of Linux market is acquired by Red Hat, one of the leading Linux in the market. And there are many copies of Red Hat also available, like CentOS is one of the copy of Red Hat. We have from Oracle also OEL. OEL stands for Oracle Enterprise Linux, which is again a copy of Red Hat. They have a license, they have a what I can say contract that whenever Red Hat new version comes, they'll share that with Oracle. Oracle will modify it to suit their product and they'll release Oracle Enterprise Linux. So you see 99% Red Hat, CentOS, OEL, they look same. They are very much similar. And there are some other flavors also I need to mention. Debian or Canonical Limited introduced Ubuntu. Now guys, the beauty is if you learn one Linux, automatically the other Linux flavors will become easy for you. It's like, guys, we are learning how to drive a car. Now, once you learn how to drive a car, any given car, you can easily adjust with that. See, some luxuries, some gearing system might be here and there and it might be different, but overall, the concept of four-wheeler would be same, right? And you would be able to work with that because overall you know how four-wheeler work. So same way, here we know how Linux work. Where are the configuration files stored? What are the similar commands that would be working? So if you learn one type of Linux, automatically other flavors will become very easy for you. By learning few things inside it, you would become compatible with any Linux. That's the beauty of Linux, because the base concept of all Linux is same. In fact, guys, indirectly speaking, Linux is nothing but a flavor of Unix. But it has become so popular now that flavors of Linux are out into the market. Now, because of so much popularity of Linux, so much easygoing things in Linux, it has beaten Unix like anything. HPUX has seen a great downfall, so HP has stopped producing HPUX. No more HPUX version would be there. Mac OS, see, Mac is never in the list of servers. You see, Mac is used beautifully for your personal domestic usage mostly, right? For your MacBooks or iPad or iPhones, etc. Right? I have not seen Mac OS or these products on any server location apart from some music industry or something, right? So they are not in the race of Unix perfectly. IBM AIX that ruled the Unix market for around 30 years has also seen a downfall. And IBM AIX is now restricted only in few areas. Solaris, they have already seen a downfall, so they sold itself to Oracle. And Oracle is not that much keen to work on Solaris. They released the last version 3 years, 4 years back, Oracle 12, and since then there is no new version. They have announced that maybe our Solaris will be discontinued in coming time. Right? The only Unix that is surviving somehow against Linux is IBM AIX. They fought a great battle with Linux. IBM AIX tried to become compatible like Linux. IBM AIX, they have changed their marketing strategies. IBM AIX, they introduced their Linuxes called Power Linux that works on IBM platforms. But nothing worked perfectly. Now, you guys, there's a saying, I think you know that when you cannot fight with someone, make friends with them, isn't it? So that's what exactly IBM has done. They fought with Linux for more than 15, 20 years. And finally, they came to know that no, we cannot beat Linux. It is going to be everywhere in the market, right? So what they did now finally is in a multi-billion deal, IBM has purchased Red Hat. So Red Hat is now the product of IBM. And as soon as IBM purchased it, the value of Red Hat has even more increased. Already it was used widely, it was very popular, but after IBM acquiring it, it became even more popular and widely used in the working environments, right? So in our curriculum, guys, we are also going to work with Red Hat Linux exclusively because Red Hat Linux and its certification is most valued operating system and certification. And which version we are going to work? See, in Red Hat, we are going to work with version 8. The latest version that is available in Red Hat is Red Hat 8 version. But I'm going to show you two versions, Red Hat 7 and 8. Because guys, you cannot expect that every environment will be working on Red Hat 8 only, right? See, there might be some environment in which Red Hat 7 was installed 5 years ago. And it's fine, it's working fine. People does not want to change it. They don't want to really upgrade it. So if such operating system, such environment is given to you, I don't want any of my student to get confused with that. So I want to show you the older version, how it used to work, and I also show you the latest. Although we work on the latest, but I'll show you that what was there previously and what is the new things in here. so that if you come across working in older or newer, in both place, you should be compatible very much. So we are going to work on Red Hat Linux environment, guys. And the curriculum, what we are going to cover is something like this. See, there are a few questions. First, I will tell you the FAQs, frequently asked questions by my students. First question, what I get is, do I need to have previous knowledge of computers to learn Linux? No, not at all. If you don't have any previous knowledge, also you can easily work Linux. If you have already knowledge, that's good. But if you don't have, there's nothing to worry. Another question what people ask me, do I need to have knowledge of Unix? No, not at all. See, if you don't have any knowledge of Unix also, it's great to start. There's nothing to worry because our curriculum starts with basics of Unix. First 3 to 4 classes, we are only going to work on Unix basics, complete Unix basics, like what is operating system, types of operating system, then how Unix we studied today, how to log in into Unix and Linux machine, how to create a file, how to create a directory or folder, how to copy the data, how to cut and paste the data, how to rename the files, file permission, all the grassroots level basics I'm going to give you in first 4 classes so that any Unix or any Linux given, at least you should be aware of the basic things that how these things would be working. Then I'm going to start working with complete Linux administration classes. So first 4 classes we will be dedicating for Unix basics, and then we are going to start working on Linux platforms, especially on Red Hat, right? Installing Red Hat operating system, then users and group administration, some advanced topic like controlling access, not allowing people to access few things, managing SE Linux, very important security model, security enhanced Linux, and doing partitioning, creating more partition, formatting, LVM, increasing, decreasing the size of partitions, network configuration and troubleshooting, job automations, firewall to control accesses, process management, boot process and issues that would affect your booting, recovering the admin passwords, managing installed services, connecting remote machines using rsync and SSH, security improvement with sudo, backup and restore, software management, and finally, we are going to work with most important things for which Linux is famous, the servers, FTP server, NFS server, Samba server, web server, mail server, DNS server. And with this curriculum, you'll get some bonus topics as a recorded session. One of them would be Squid Proxy, DHCP, and the other one is shell scripting. Guys, with this course, I'm giving away free self-paced course. Self-paced course means you will be given complete recorded sessions for shell scripting of mine, which I have taken the latest session itself, right? See, shell scripting is also important for automation. Whenever you are handling hundreds of machines, to do a task at a time on many machines, you should know how to automate your work with shell scripting. And it is also useful going forward for many automation tools. Like guys, in today's time in industry, we have many automation tools used like Ansible, Chef, Puppet, SaltStack. So if you are working on any of these tools, you should know the shell scripting very well to be compatible with them. So I'm giving away the free thing with this curriculum with Linux. So Linux classes will be live every day, but after we finish our Linux classes, I'll give you access to my shell scripting course so that with your convenient time, you can watch and learn the shell scripting syllabus. Linux classes will be live, but shell scripting, you would be given the recorded sessions to work with. And also, guys, with this class, every day you'll be getting recorded session. Every day we take the class and we record it, the way I'm recording right now also. So that recorded session will be shared with you in downloadable format. That means if you want, you can download it and you can keep it in your laptop for your future references and all, however you want. But everyday class, whatever we take, we will be giving you the recorded session. Everyone will get that. And also, we will be having this manual, the reference book, what would be given to you, which contains practices for your lab work. So I'll be using the same book as the slides. It contains everything for you guys. Let me show you. If you just go down, let us say that I'll take some topic over here. So you see it contains all the theoretical aspect what we will cover. And going forward, you'll find practical labs also, that how to run this command and how to create this thing. You see, I'm going to cover parallelly that how it used to be in 7 and how it used to be on 8. All that differences I'll try to show you and work with this. So this book would be enough for you to do everyday's practice. So we will be having a manual. We will be working with that. You'll get it in the PDF format. And every day, class recordings will be shared with you. So you can rewatch the class recording whenever you want to brush up. If you have not listened the lecture properly, you can simply go back, watch the video again, and you can be compatible with that perfectly. And this lab manual will help you to do everyday's class. Lastly, guys, certification. See guys, Red Hat used to have two types of certification, right? If you are interested to do Red Hat certification, I don't personally promote certification. It's your choice if you're going forward. If you do, it's always a good thing. So if you want to do that, there used to be two certifications previously till Red Hat 7, right? The certification was RHCSA, which stands for Red Hat Certified System Admin, right? And we used to have RHCE, Red Hat Certified Engineer, right? So these two certification used to be there previously. RHCSA used to be considered as the basic certification, and RHCE used to be considered as the advanced level certification. But now, guys, there's a small change, or in fact, there is a big change in Red Hat 8 onwards. So since Red Hat 8, we have RHCSA as a complete system admin certification. See, all the important topics of Red Hat will be tested in RHCSA. So now if you do RHCSA, you would be treated equally like what we used to be treated earlier in Red Hat Certified Engineer. So it is going to be basic to advanced certification. If you do that much also, you would be called as a certified system admin with complete knowledge of Red Hat Linux. And there is one more certification which is available, which is RHCE. Now, guys, RHCE is more and more concentrating on Ansible automation. So it is completely related to automation. Let me type the exam code EX200 and EX294. So what happens, guys, is Red Hat has purchased Ansible. Ansible is an automation tool that is used under DevOps, right? If you want to install a software on 200 machines at a time, you can do it with Ansible. If you want to do some configuration on 200 machines at a time, you can do it with Ansible. So people were not that much keen to work with Ansible previously as it was introduced. So now what Red Hat done is their Red Hat Certified Engineer course, they have changed it to automation instead of Linux. So Linux certification will be RHCSA only, right? But Ansible automation, if you're planning to go, then you have to go with RHC. So our curriculum, guys, what we are going to work will be revolving around RHCSA, Complete Linux System Administration. So if you want to work as a Linux administration, RHCSA would be enough for you. To get more opportunities, good salaries and all, if you want, you can promote yourself with Ansible automation, which is becoming really important in the market, right? But to learn automation, I would recommend you first to have a good knowledge of shell scripting, because shell scripting is a backbone, or scripting, in fact, is a backbone for most of the automations that is used. Okay, so our curriculum will be revolving around here. We have a curriculum combined. We are not going to revolve 100% across certification only. I want you to have a good knowledge, a depth knowledge of Linux. So I will be teaching you Linux in depth with some real examples, tips, and troubleshooting what we face in our working environments, as well as I'll give you certification tips. If you are interested, after the class or after the course, I'll share one uh, guide for certification. People who wants to go and write the certification for them or for everyone. In fact, I'll share one book. By reading that book and practicing the things inside it, you can even appear for examination, right? An examination is not like a normal examination, it's a practical based exam. So you need to approach authorized center, book a slot, and on the given date and time, you must present physically and write the examination over there. Anyway, so I'm not going to completely talk about the certification all the time. If you are interested, that is your choice. If you want to go for it, you can go for it. Otherwise, it's fine. So that is it, guys, from my side. The classes total duration would be around 40 to 45 days. See, the course is very lengthy, and my way of teaching is slow and continuous, slow and steady. I don't want to feed too much knowledge at a time because I want you to get slowly each and every concept in depth. The class time will be 1 to 1.5 hour. Usually it would be 1 hour, but sometimes when the topic is big, we will go for 1.5 hour maximum. Maximum time would be 1.5 hour, or on an average, we will be 1 hour, 1 hour, 15 minutes daily, Monday to Friday, right? So our classes will be Monday to Friday. Saturday and Sunday, I'm leaving for you to do the whole week's practicals. Every day you can do it, but mostly working professionals, if they don't get the time, Saturday, Sunday would be idle for them. So what we are going to do, guys, we are going to build the labs in our personal laptop desktop, like you see on my screen. So I'll be showing you how to set up this lab. I'll be helping you. In fact, if anyone is facing difficulty, I will take remote session using TeamViewer or AnyDesk. I'll help with you, I'll sit with you, and I'll try to make sure that you also get these things installed and work with that. So our classes will be very interesting, guys, combination of theory and practical. Today, as a demo class, I have only shown you the history, introduction, and all. But as we proceed with the classes, we will discuss the theory, we'll do the practicals, and same you have to do on your side by installing. I'll be sharing all the required things with you. You don't have to worry about how to get Red Hat operating system or what is that virtualization, how to configure virtualization, how to install all that things. We will be doing the lab things in our next classes, coming classes. We will also set up the same thing in our environments, right? And we'd work with. So our classes will be starting by Monday. See, Monday with respect to US standard, right? People who are attending the class from US, it would be Monday for them. People who are attending the classes from India, it would be Tuesday. You know, we are one day ahead from US, right? So for US people, it would be Monday, and for Indian people, it would be Tuesday. Timing would be same, the time what you have attended the class today, it would start exactly the same time what we have attended today's class. Timing would be same, no change in the timing, and total duration of this course is 40 to 45 days, right? And the duration for the class will be 1 hour to 1.5 hours, not more than that. That is it, guys, from my side. Now, if you have any queries from your side, you can put your queries or questions now, guys.